Welcome back, everyone. This is the Be Better Tribe podcast, where we explore the stories, lessons, and leadership journeys that shape who we become. I'm your host, Julian Alvarez. Now, one of the things I've learned over the course of my career is that not every leader who shapes your path is someone you report to. Sometimes the people who change your trajectory the most are the ones who simply show up when you need them the most. Now, today's guest is someone who did exactly that for me. There was a stretch in my career when I was working at Google that felt pivotal. And honestly, it was pretty challenging. Now, I didn't report to Mike Moriarty, but he still made time for me. He brought contagious energy, offered perspective, and showed up in a way that made people around him better. I've always believed some of the most important leadership moments in your life don't happen inside org charts. They happen in conversations. They happen in encouragement. They happen when someone helps you see something in yourself before you fully see it. And now Mike spent years helping shape talent at Google, later becoming the global head of talent acquisition at Dropbox, and today is the founder and CEO of Arsenal Pulse. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Mike Moriarty to the Be Better Tribe podcast. All right, everyone, welcome in Mike Moriarty. Mike and I crossed paths over, Mike, what, 15?
Yeah.
No, not 15 years ago. It was 10 years ago-ish at Google.
Well, yeah, let's say 10, 12 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, it was 10, 12 years ago. Mike, you were somebody that had such an impact on me, but I never reported to you. It was like, I just felt like you were a manager within the sourcing floor at Google. You had an impact on me. You brought the energy, you brought the camaraderie, you brought this like fun atmosphere, but still held your team really accountable, which I always loved. And, I didn't report to you, but you had an impact on me. And,
That's awesome.
It's great to see so much success that you've had. Global head of sales talent at Dropbox. You're running your own thing at Arsenal Pulse. And, I'm just grateful to have you not only as a friend, as a mentor, but here on the podcast. So thanks so much for joining. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Fantastic. Okay. So the first question I always like to ask guests is, we want to reflect back on a leader who's really made an impact on us. So really question for you is, when you look back at your tenure in your career, is there any leader that stands out to you of someone who's made an impact and why?
Yeah, it's a good question, man. There's a lot, maybe controversial. I would say one of the things when I get asked this question about leadership style, I more go away from a lot of the bad leaders that I've had in my career versus drive towards the ones that have been positive. I've had the ones that, make you feel small, make you prioritize work over them, make you look up to them. And I just, as I grew through my career, always took note of like, I don't want to, if I get the opportunity, I'm not going to do that at least.
Yeah.
And if I don't do that, at least I'm getting people in the right direction. And then, before I got into recruiting, I was commission only sales guy back in the day. And I am now blanking on his name now that we're podcasting, but I will think of it hopefully. But there was a really senior person in the office when I sold financial services in San Francisco at Northwestern Mutual. And he was very decorated. He spent 65 years, man, in this industry. And then this 160-year-old company, he was well respected across the whole country. And he happened to be in San Francisco. And I literally got stuck in an elevator with this guy. And we were heading down in the 111 Sutter and we got stuck. And I just took the time to ask him a bunch of questions and really understand kind of how he was successful. And I was really trying to keep up with the Joneses at that point in my career. Most 20-year-old guys are. Yeah. And I'll never forget it. He was like, Mike, when you're in your 20s, you're always worried about what everyone else is thinking about you. And then you get to your 40s and, you don't really care what anyone else thinks about you. And then when you hit your 60s, Mike, you're going to realize that no one was ever actually thinking about you in the first place. Everyone's worried about themselves. So take care of you. And I just remember this movie moment, you know what I mean? The doors open, not exactly, but I just had such it just really impacted me to what I took away from it was who I am is okay. I don't need to try to be anyone else. Mm-hmm. I am me, and that there's good and bad there that I can get better. And it's really shaped a lot of my leadership since, where I don't claim to be perfect. I don't claim to be better than anybody. I am just me. And I hope I give people autonomy, empowerment, and accountability to be themselves. So that's kind of where it comes from.
Yeah, I love that. It's so funny because I feel like the one thing that you learn as you continue your career, and I look back at those moments as well. And what's funny is like I kind of felt like that when I was at
For
Google, of like
sure.
imposter syndrome. I came from a non-traditional tech
Yeah.
background. And I think that's where you and I bonded because I
100%.
was
That's where we bonded. I remembered you. I was like, okay, this
yeah,
kid reminds me of me for sure.
yeah, sales background where I didn't really I understood it, but like I wasn't comfortable in my skin at that moment. And I
Yeah.
think that's what like you realize as you get older of like how important that is because it'll unlock who you are as a person and then you could go do anything.
Yeah,
Really.
exactly. Then like the only blocker is you at that point. Once you realize that the accountability is obviously on you to deliver, but
Totally.
if you can be honest with yourself and then just try to get better every day, like the world's kind of in front of you if you can go do those things.
I love that. So like first thing is like you got to focus on yourself. You got to focus on what's between your ears. You got to focus on just being true to who you are, which I absolutely love. So the second question, a little bit off of that,
Okay.
which I think we could take it in a little bit different direction, is like you've just succeeded in multiple different roles, man. Like you've done a ton of great work in recruiting and owning your own spot. And so I would love to talk about like your habits and your skills and what you've developed over the last 5 to 10 years that have been tried and true where it's like you can still go back to that and it's still something that when you were recruiting at Google to when you were leading a global team, like what is something that has just continued to help you succeed?
Yeah, I mean the simple answer, which I will share, and I make a joke about myself to try to just lighten it, but like hire people better than yourself, like, and that's easy
Oh
for
yeah.
me is my tagline. But like hire good people and trust them in account. But like what I would say within that, and let me talk about that for a second. So within that too, higher attributes, please. Like if someone has the perfect skills, but they're not accountable, they don't have these habits we're talking
Mm,
about, they don't have high morals or ethics, they're not a team player, you're just kicking the can down the road, and it like the cancer will spread on your team from a culture standpoint. I
yeah.
You can't teach someone to work hard and do those things. So if they have
Mhm.
that, at least in recruiting, we can teach them how
Sure.
to improve, right? So like
Totally.
that's just like my TED talk for that space. On the other side, I really probably more than most leaders get really into the details early, even though like my advice
Mm,
is to delegate, but I like to understand what I'm delegating. So even in
sure.
venture, before I started Arsenal Pulse, we would go across all these different, companies, different stages, different verticals, different sizes, different founders have different experiences. And it was really this like masterclass for me to meet these founders where they're at, understand what was important to them and why, and then unpack what they're trying to build and do. And then I really thought it'd be more playbooky, honest, Julian. Like I could just go in there, like
Yeah.
have it. And it wasn't like, it was like, I need to meet these folks and build it. So I got really granular, but I got pretty good at it. Like
Hmm.
dissecting what was important, what was happening, building dashboards, and then up leveling myself, hiring people to take that over, automate these things. But when I ask somebody to do something on a Friday at 4 o'clock when they want to go hang out with their friends, I understand if that's a 4 hour ask or a
Yeah.
2 day ask or like a
Sure.
15-minute ask. And I think that gave me credibility. And so I really invest a lot of time early to manage myself out of any process or company and team. Like really, that's my job is to continue to manage myself out. Even Arsenal Pulse, we're 10 months in, and I have people now running. I have GMs running verticals of this business, and we're 10 months in.
Mm,
So
yeah.
the time I put in and understanding that allows me actually to grow out of it and give people scope, clarity, some guardrails. But that's probably what I just, and maybe it's just my own comfort level, but I like to understand what's happening versus fully depend on somebody else. And then I kind of manage myself out of it.
I love that. And I think what I break it down to is a couple things of what I heard, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think number one is like being a good person, like being a teammate, like being able to like connect with others. Like don't be that like negative person on your
Totally.
team. Don't be an asshole. Like at the end of the day, it's just like people want to be connected and work with other people that are nice and then encouraging that are all of those like underlying characteristics. And it's not about being an extrovert. It's not
100%.
about being a rah. It's just about being a good person, you
And
know?
it's not about like just like it doesn't mean you don't work your ass off and work hard and accountable and drive high results. Like I just think there's this utopia I've been able to figure out with people where if you give them scope and skill, and then you can still make it fun and like have a good time and build skills, and but you can also overachieve. And so I think people think that's a lever they have to pick one or the other. And I've just found that not to be true as long as you're hiring, like what we're saying, to the right people.
Totally. So hire the right person and like on the other flip side, be the right person.
Yeah.
Like do the right things. And like the second piece is competent, be extremely competent in what you do. And I love what you said, like whether you're a VP, a director, or a CRO, CEO, like get in the weeds, do the role, understand what you're asking of your people, because that's going to come around. And like you can't coach them, you can't train them, you don't know what good looks like unless you've done it in your past.
Especially with all these tools now in AI. And imagine your whole world's HubSpot. I'm new to HubSpot, but it's like, if you don't know what you're asking these people to build out and do and whatever, like it's a loss. You lose them versus, hey, let's figure this out together. Like, I'm new to
Yeah,
this too. Let's dance. And that just builds so much trust with your team, and people
totally.
will follow that.
I love it. Yeah. And this is like a little bit of a slightly different question, but
Okay.
it's a hypothetical, or I wouldn't say hypothetical, theoretical maybe is the right word. But you weren't my manager at Google. Like you never were, but you still showed up for me. And I think it could have been because we had similar backgrounds. I don't know. You mentioned that you saw something to me that was similar, but like I feel like I saw that with you and amongst multiple other individuals. And so it seems like to me you had this instinct, you had this energy around you to invest in other people that you didn't formally lead. And so like, did that come from anywhere? Were you a natural leader? Like, I don't know. Like it's a broad question, but I would
No,
love for you to brag about yourself a little
I was
bit
gonna
here.
say, it's a complimentary question. Keep them coming. But yeah, I think it, like a lot of folks played a lot of sports and just was in leadership positions. And, when I got to Google, it was really competitive, right? Like they were only going to convert a couple of us, and like we got stack ranked and weighed and measured every week. And like, and you and I felt the same thing. It's like, I didn't know what Java was. I was like, I don't know what coffee, like, I don't
Dude,
understand this world. And
JavaScript, C++,
exactly, I had
like
no idea what any of
every
that meant.
low
And
end,
it
high end
was
engineer. Yeah.
it was on the resume. I'm like, oh, they could do it. Great, hire them. And they're like, oh, wait, that's not how it works. But I think ultimately what I have learned is like, if you can pay it forward and you can go bring people around, you make everybody better, that's a leader. And I think that's the issue. And I imagine you see it in sales too, dude. Like typically, unfortunately, the mistake that most people make is they hire the top performer. And that person, unfortunately, sometimes is just thinking about themselves and how do they maximize their ROI. And there is nothing wrong with that. But that's not necessarily the right leader for the group. The leader is someone who's thinking about how he can get everybody up, how he or she can get everybody up, how he or she can spend time. And I just, like I said, I kind of saw it as like, well, shit, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I just work really hard. If you
Mhm.
guys want my help, and like that's what I did when I got there. I saw the 5 top people on the board. I was like, hey, can I buy you coffee? Coffee was free at Google, right? So it was great. And I'd go sit down with them. Like, what do you do? How do you
Yeah.
do it? Why do you do it that way? And I kind of made it my own. And then same thing, people naturally started coming to me, and I was like, yeah, I'm happy to give you my time. Other people
Mhm.
gave me their time.
Yeah.
And that's we're, competitive, but like I think there's a world where if you can build that culture of competition, but if someone's beating you, you're motivated to be better, not try to put them down. Like, okay, this person's kicking my ass. How can I get better so I can up level my game? Not try to like knock them down. And I think, iron sharpens iron. And I think that's just always been my instincts. And I think you and I have seen it. Like you look across the floor and you're looking and you're like, who's everyone going to? Who's everyone going to get these questions answered? And I love it. I just like at the social like jujitsu in my head, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. They're all going to the person who's not the top performer, but he or she is willing to spend the time.
Yeah. And usually that person that was helping was somewhere in the top, and maybe
Totally.
not the individual that was, there on the weekends only for their own success, knowing that it's going to be a stock ranking at the end of like, yeah, if you get the most hires, you're going to get converted. Versus like there are other individuals who are just good people that got converted as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think what I also saw is there's a lot of people who weren't performing at all that love to give advice. And it's like, well, no one's going to you. We don't need your advice. Like, be really, really good at your craft. That's my advice to everybody. It's like, just become an expert at what you do and then build off of it, And it's like the foundations of anything. To go back to sports, it's like before you can dribble through your legs and do all the stuff, if you don't know how to
Totally.
dribble and walk, like do the basics well, and everything else will follow.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever read Adam Grant, Give and Take, but it
Mm.
reminds me a lot of that, where it's like if you're an individual that's curious and you want to learn, go ask, go give
Yeah,
time. And then when people want to learn from you, you don't do it because you want something. Like it's not like a give and I want to take like
right.
give and take. It's more of you're giving because it's just it feels good. It's the right thing to do. And like eventually it does come back for good.
That's what I've learned, and I'm sure it's the same in like sales, dude. But like in recruiting, like it's a people function, right? So like what I love about our industry, and like this ego session that we're having for me right now, but like how you treat people matters. Because when I leave Google and went to Dropbox's opinion of Julian Alvarez was my opinion of Julian Alvarez, right? And
Totally.
so like how you do it, and I think that's a great thing for young people to think through, because how you show up every day and how you support and how you work through and how you problem solve and who you learn from and who you share to matters long term in your career, especially from the staffing guy here. Like that's going to help you get your next 3 jobs. So like do it right.
I always tell my team, the SDRs and any person that I come across, is tech sales is extremely small.
Yeah.
And like when you're 10 years into it, your reputation's going to matter, and like how you act and the teammate that you are and the skill sets that you have and the ability to grow, it's going to follow you. And so like you need to make sure that you continue to get better and you continue to build that brand amongst other people. And again, going back to just be a good person,
Just be a
right?
good person. I know that sounds like, normal advice, but I think that, we've both seen that come through in our careers.
Totally, absolutely. And so like you've been in recruiting for a really long time. You've been doing this for a while now, and like one of the biggest challenges that I think is coming out from new grads. I mentioned to you earlier, I've lectured at Cal Poly, guest lectured for some
Awesome.
classes, and that's a common question, right? Of like, and even parents now asking me like, how do my kids break into like a career? And so for you looking at, and this is probably not the resumes you look for right now, but like if you would give to advice of someone trying to break into a competitive company or a new field or something, what are some of the techniques you would tell them on how to break through that type of environment?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, like if you're going to go to a big company or somewhere, like remove your ego, just get in the door, get a
Oh,
job.
yeah.
If you're capable and competent and you can get in the door. When I came to Google, I was 30 or 31. I was leading a pretty large, like a sales organization before. And I took a contract sourcing job at Google to get my foot in the door at Google. And I was willing to make that trade-off. I'd say for the kids out of school, the piece that don't just apply, we're all humans on the recruiting side. So do some work. Find out who you know and who they know at the place
Mhm.
that you are looking to get a job. We call it the side door method. Like get
Yep.
in the door, but go through the side door, and you'd be shocked. A very kind email. I went to a state school too in California. It's like, hey, I went to Long Beach State too, Mike, and I, go beach and trying to get into recruiting. I would just love 15 minutes of your time.
Hmm.
Like I'm going to say yes most times, and just try to help how I can and just give advice, like help with whatever I can. So, but like if you just apply, you're going to be just like hope is not a strategy. Go find the
Hmm.
person or people that are there and send them a note to why you think you're qualified and interested. And as like a new founder to my company, it's like, okay, do some research on why you think you want to work at Arsenal Pulse. What do you think is
Cool.
interesting? I have 2 sons and I think about them all the time. But the third thing I think about most is Arsenal Pulse. Like, why is my company interesting to you? Why do you think it's differentiated? Where do you think you can be impactful and help? And why are you uniquely qualified to do it? And you never have done it probably, but what skills or experiences have you had that'll translate to the job? Right. So you were the leader on the team, you won the competition, you are the president of X, whatever it might be, that is going to go a long way. And just get out there and start talking to people. That is going to be the skill, especially with AI coming. Like that is going to be the unique skill that AI can't disrupt, is like go meet folks, like network and have conversations. And I promise you, you'll create your own luck over time.
Got it. Yeah. No, I think multiple things that you said resonated with me is like get your foot in the door. Like don't be scared to take a step back to go forward. Like if you want to bet on yourself, freaking bet on yourself. Like
Totally.
do it, because you can grow and get like accelerate your career. People are always going to want to promote from within, and if you are the best, you will be promoted. So like bet on yourself. And then the second thing is like in order for you to get through the door now, you have to side door. You
Yeah.
have to you leverage your network. Like you have to uh, get time with people that are there. You have to find a way to like be separate than the normal mass. If you just send your resume in and hope to get a callback, it's not going to happen. Like it's just,
It's not, especially in
there's too
today's
much
day and age.
competition.
And like, don't think of your career. Everyone thinks it is like this linear line from like growth and revenue and income up and to the right. it's okay to start here. But if you do really good, you go to Julian's team and he teaches you how to be the best AE and SDR on the planet. And then he's going to be super excited for you to go get your bigger opportunity at the next company. But your graph just changed, your slope changed exponentially because of who you learned from and who you worked with and their network to help you grow in your career. So like, don't think of it just like, oh, I got to go do this move and this move. It's okay to go down. And like from us old guys, it's like, yeah, like, and then when you have a family, like maybe there's different values that you're not solving for. And like, it's okay, but go surround yourself with people that you respect, people that give a shit about you and that you can learn from. And then when you're done learning, like I can't tell you how many heads of talent and things like that come from my coaching tree that are so much better at their job than I am. And I'm just so proud to be some part of their journey. And that's why we're in leadership. Like that's our job, is to get people up and out better than us.
Yeah, it's so funny looking back at like the accomplishments in your career. It's like for me, it's seeing that coaching tree grow. It's seeing those individuals that were SDRs or cold calling for me 10 years ago who are now VPs of sales and
Totally.
crushing it. And like, I'm looking for advice from them and I'm learning from them. And so like, really love what you're saying, and the reciprocity of like giving and helping others and doing good work though. Like, let's get back to that. Like,
Yeah.
I do think competence matters, right? You cannot just be a good person and not do the job. You have to be technical. If you're a technical worker or if you're a sales professional, you got to make sales, you got to hit your quota. So like with that context, with when you're grinding it out as an IC way back in the day, or
Yeah.
you're coaching an IC and let's say they're having a little bit of trouble there, what are some of the things you lean on to motivate them, to inspire them, to like connect to their wires? Are there any like techniques that you've used or seen in the past that have really helped you mold them?
I think a couple of things, like a lot of them don't necessarily know what their why is. So you're kind of helping pull it out of them. Like, what are we trying to get out of this? What's the goals? Things of that nature. I try to simplify it a ton, and you know this better than anybody. Like the Venn diagram of recruiting and sales is actually pretty close, right? So
Yeah.
like we really focus them on the top of the funnel and becoming an expert in finding, courting, and attracting whatever they're trying to find, and understanding them when they found them. It's like, great, how do you now when you have a conversation, like let's go through that, let's role play, let's make sure that part's good. Okay, now you're having good conversations, pulling out motivations and interests and things like that.
Hmm.
Okay, now what's your next step? Like, are you starting to pre-close? And you just walk through everything. And then once you have that, I don't want to say secret, but like my strategy has always been like, help them build their own business with inside the company. And I always share with my team, it's like there's certain metrics and inputs and pass through rates that everybody should know, right? And
Yep.
so if I know those more than you do, we have a
Mm,
problem, right? So like in commission only,
I
if you
like
didn't know your numbers and your sales and your like, what are you doing? Especially living in San Francisco, like I had to
it.
pay a stupid rent every month. So it's like I was obsessed and ingrained with this weird training. And so I try to enforce that over. We somewhat gamified it to where it's like, okay, we gave like certain activities point values, because much like your world, you can't get a sale every day. But how do you go home today knowing you had a really good day? And that's going to be some form of prospecting or calls or whatever in your world, similar to us. And so we kind of gave those values where it's like, okay, get X amount of points. That's a really, really good day. You should feel good. And then you can reverse engineer the points to like hires or sales, I'm sure, on your side. And so that's really what I kind of coach to. But then again, everyone's motivations are different. So it's on the learning for me, and this is kind of similar to being a dad and everything else. It's like I need to understand what's important to them and I need to adjust my strategy. It's not like one size fits all. Because I had some recruiters that were like super narrow, but like high conversion rates. And I had some that would like spray and like just talk to everybody. And so it's like, okay, let's just understand the time and the pass through on those. And then
mm,
let's see where in our funnel can we get better. And then what's great about having a large team, it's like, go talk to Julian. His efficiency and close rate is insane. Like, what can we borrow there? And that's kind of my job is to Geppetto it. But I think ultimately to answer your question is like, the stupid analogy I always use is like, God, I just lost it. What's the difference between, um, oh, I lost it. Dang it. That's embarrassing. But
insanity, is that
no, it's not
like
insanity.
I was gonna say doing the same thing over and over?
That's a good one too. I just had it in my head and I lost it. But like basically it's like the difference between just understand, it goes back to the basics, like have the basics so well organized and done, and then you can build on top of it. And so for me as a leader, I wouldn't let people reach out or do a phone screen until I anointed them that they were okay to do it. And that's it. Ordinary and extraordinary. So what's the difference between ordinary and extraordinary? Extraordinary is extraordinary. Like you just are so good at it's Tim Duncan, right? It's like just be
Oh,
so
Mr.
good at the
Fundamental.
basics. Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Fundamental.
That's the terrible tagline that I just forgot. And Nikki's listening. She says hi, by the way. And so
Oh, hey, what's up, Nikki? Yeah, I love that. I love that. No, what's the difference between ordinary and extraordinary? The X, wait, what was it?
extraordinary. All you are is
Extra. Oh,
extraordinary.
dude, I love how cheesy that is,
Yeah, it's
Mike. And I
terrible. That's
love
kind of also my reputation these days as a cheesy dad joke.
oh, dude, we're there now.
Yeah, I
We
know
are there.
it is. It
But
happens
I
so quick.
love it. You know what? I love it because it's so simple. And one of the things that you said earliest was like, if you don't know your dang KPIs, like, then you don't care. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I hate to say that, but it's like, when you have a low performer, you have someone that wants to be successful and they don't know that basic stuff. It's just disrespectful for the leader. And I think
100%.
and what I find a lot as more a leader who's just starting their career will sometimes try to hide that,
Interesting.
and they will let the person, and they will give the person the answers, right? They will try to coach them to success
Yeah,
instead of
that makes
calling
them
them
look good. Yeah,
radical candor, where
got
Kim
it.
Scott is like, you just need to tell them immediately, like, it's unacceptable for you not to know.
Yeah,
And I'm not going to tell you next week. You need to come prepared.
and to bring it back to the recruiting side, like that's how I screen. It's like in the question. I don't want to share it too much because I asked a lot of people this and I get a lot of feedback on it as a positive thing, but I ask it all the time. It's like, where did the motivation come from? Like I see your resume, Julianne. You've achieved everywhere you've gone. Why do you seem
Mhm.
to win when others don't? And I have found like my general underwriting of the best answer to that question is if that answer is larger than themselves. My parents just sacrificed so much, and I just know. My brother, I want to be an example. If it's like, I just love to hire people and it's like my favorite thing, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's like,
Yeah.
that person's not going to run through a wall every day to figure it out. If you have something bigger than you that you need
Mhm.
to be successful, which is my chip on my shoulder, so it's like pure bias, I guess, too, to be fully transparent. But like those people are going to figure out their numbers. They're going to find who the top performers are, and they're going to figure out how to win because they have to.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. They have to do it. And like that eagerness to like want to succeed and being able to showcase why you want to succeed is like actually really critical in my opinion. And so like, I think giving like talking back to like whoever's listening here, I think it really boils down to like, you have to want to win and you have to want to like find success. And then ultimately it's like nothing more than just, um, following through with your commitments, doing what you need to do. And of course, getting better at what you do.
And
So
winning the
final
right way.
question, the right way for sure. Absolutely. And it's going to go back to just being a good person. So final question, Mike, I know we're going to cut it off on here, the 30-minute mark. So, obviously this podcast is for a wide range of
Yeah.
individuals. I hope that people find value, whether they're in our seats, whether they're just getting into management, whether trying to break in their career. It doesn't really matter where you're at. I just want to make sure we provide stories that can help anyone along their journey. And so the last question I have for you is, when we're thinking about the advice that you would give for the youth of today, or someone going through a career transition, or just maybe having a hard time in life, what advice would you give them that has stuck with you for a really long time?
Yeah, I think when you're going through a hard time, I think, I can relate. Like I'm a human being and have gone through ups
Yeah.
and downs. And I think the first and foremost is like dealing with whatever you've dealt with so you can move forward in the healthiest way possible. Meaning talk to your family, talk to your network, figure out how you can build off of that foundation of trials and tribulations, whatever happened to you, so you can really move forward and then really understand what and why you're looking for next. I think people don't
Mhm.
realize that they have options. And especially when
Yeah.
you're interviewing, you're assessing the company and the leaders and the team just as much as they're assessing you. And so you have power. And the more confident you are and questions you ask against the things that are important to you, the actual higher likelihood you're going to be successful versus just someone who's going to say the right answer in the interview. That's not actually what most hiring managers want. I want
Yeah.
someone that has a point of view, that has thought about this, to your point, that can do critical thinking. I think the worst thing you can do is just inaction, especially if you're looking for a job. Like recruiting, interviewing is a muscle. So like you have to go flex it. But if you're just sitting there hoping and praying, that's not going to do anything for you. Even,
Mm.
like do something, go talk to someone, go to a career fair, those things. And then the best time to get a job is to have a job. So go get a job somewhere else that you might not be ideal, that doesn't look perfect on your resume. I promise you, if you have a story and you're capable, it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
I didn't have the best resume if you look at my LinkedIn, and it's gotten better since. But to get to Google, I got my shot, and then they converted a handful of us. And I was very fortunate to be one of them. But I earned my way there and fought my way to keep it. And I think that's the piece people need to think through, of really understanding what their pain or challenges or whatever's happened has happened, process it, move forward, don't sit still. And there's nothing against, reading books, stuff like that, but like do something, move forward with some action.
Yeah, I love that. And so like the way I'd break it down here, and you said so many great things, is first is be a good person. Next is be competent in your role, work hard. Like you gave the example of you digging in when you're first getting over a role. Like you really want to make sure you know what you're doing so that you can provide advice to others. And then the last thing, which I absolutely love, is whether you are in college, whether you are going through a hard time, whether you are career transitioning, move
Yeah.
forward. Like
Go.
don't stop. Talk to a ton of people. Like get a skill set. Like get a job. Like do something, because not moving forward is like stagnant, and it's not going to propel you, and it's going to get you in a rut, and it's going to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And like that's what I heard from what you said, and it makes so much sense. Like no matter what you're doing in life, as long as you're putting one step forward, it's going to compound for sure.
Bro, this is great. You say everything better than I say it. This is awesome.
It's easy. It's easy for me once you say it. I just like digest. I'm just the chat GPT,
This
right?
is
I'm just
awesome.
like
Yeah, I got to claw it into you.
summarizing. All right, Mike. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining tonight. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you as a friend, as a mentor, and wish you nothing but the best. Thanks so much for
Appreciate it,
joining.
sir. Great to see you and all
All
your
right, thank you.
success.
All right.